Welcome to the Bodybuilding Banter podcast, your number one source of all things bodybuilding. Be sure to like and subscribe to stay up to date on future episodes. Now, here's your host, Leroy Rollins.
Welcome to the podcast, people. Branden, of course, making another appearance. Wearing a shirt. We tried to get this going about 5 minutes ago, and he had to go put a shirt on. So, for your enjoyment, he's wearing a shirt right now.
Yeah, or your utter disappointment.
Or your pure lack of desire to see him with a shirt on. Anyways, we're going to talk about motivation because it gets us both fired up, and I think it'd be entertaining to get us fired up about motivation. So, obviously, many of us are without a gym. Some of us not so much. Some of us have still some good pieces of equipment they have access to and that kind of stuff. But what I think I'm seeing a lot of, not only as like a person through social media, just what I'm seeing, but also as a coach, seeing it from a client's perspective too, is I don't have the motivation. I don't feel like training. I don't want to eat. I want to eat shit, blah, blah, blah. Your turn. You start.
Yeah, man, like my saying, I mean, it's not my saying, but the thing I've always went by is motivation's just bullshit.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's just a load of shit. So, and not to, I'm not trying to, get out of the PG rating here or anything, but it's just like, it's honky. You have other sort of characteristics that propel your motivation if you want to use that word. Like, you have consistency and determination and discipline, and they're all set on this goal. For you and I and other, aspiring bodybuilders, it's just routine. It's just like structure. It's just a part of our day. Yeah.
So what you do?
You wake up and it's there, and it's not like motivation. Honestly, I don't wake up with like this burning desire, I'm not like, I don't wake up and my gas tank isn't always full, and that's the truth. Like if you were to use the term motivation for me, a lot of times it's like if you were to gauge or put on a graph or whatever, it's kind of in the middle for me. I'm waking up and I'm doing these things regardless. Motivation doesn't even matter to me. So if I'm not motivated, I'm going to do it anyways, right?
Yeah.
You should have like this consistent determination to achieve a goal, but motivation doesn't matter.
No.
Because if you're disciplined in chasing that goal, it doesn't matter if you have no motivation. You have the discipline that you're going to go after it anyways. All of my lifestyle clients of mine, they're just, I keep in contact with them, and they've like pretty much spit the bit, right? Like it's pretty much like, during this time, whatever. Some of them are just starting to come around now, and it's been, a month or a little bit.
Yeah.
3 weeks where, eating whatever they want, and now people don't have to see them, so they can be a little bit relaxed and all this stuff. And I'm relaxed in some ways too. This is the most wild beard I've, and
Same.
Grow beard, but
me too.
It's been like a month where I was like, I'm not shaving my face, like it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
But for something that you have this like, you can't. For me, it's always about making as much progress as you can in a given amount of time. If you have this concrete goal or this just sort of, higher goal, or tough or difficult thing, you have to put motivation aside, because not every day you are going to wake up and be motivated.
No, and I think
it's just, if you're in this for long enough, you understand that, and it just doesn't matter.
Yeah, I think that's a misconception people have when they see, like, I'm going to say people like us, but not that we're anything special. But I know, like, clients, for example, look at me and think I'm just like this. I'm so driven and motivated, like 24/7, nothing gets to me and all this kind of stuff. And I think people have this like misconception that like you can like that. I don't think anybody's like that. I genuinely don't. I think that when you see people that are goal oriented and driven and all this kind of stuff, like you said at the beginning, it's a series of like habits that have been formed and a kind of just an internal like drive to continue, whether you're, like you said, your motivation tank is full or not. Because I agree with you, like there's very few days where I wake up and I'm like, nice, like let's go, it's blah 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 blah. Like I think the only day that I can honestly say that happens is show day, where I get up and I'm like out of bed ready to go. But that's a totally different animal. Like I don't get up on a Thursday and I'm like, yes, it's Thursday, it's gonna be a great day, blah blah. But like you get up, you know, you brush your teeth, you prep your food, and then you go, like you do all these things without even thinking. And I think that's the level that you need to get to, where it's not even conscious decisions anymore.
Yeah, it's like the guest poser from Coburg's in 2017. I was having a conversation with him, and this is when last year I was still having so much fun and making so much progress in my off season that I was like I almost feel like it would be a shame to start a prep when I'm making this much progress in my off season. I was talking to him about that, and he's just like, you know, like if you're tackling this goal, even though it's not, you don't, like in an off season, you don't really have a goal, right? For a bodybuilder, like, you know, you do, but like there's nothing that's like this day.
Yeah.
I'm working towards that in your off season.
Yeah.
It's kind of hard to be deep into an off season and still have that sort of disciplined effort continuously, right? So sometimes even the best of us will screw off for a couple days in a row, and then it's a few months where you just hammer it back out, right? And I was in the middle of 3 months where like I wasn't missing a meal, I wasn't doing anything I was just in it, right? And I was like, it doesn't make any sense. Like I was thinking about doing Coburg's last year at that point.
Right.
And he's like, don't do it, man. He's just like, you have to have like this killer mindset whenever you start a prep. That's like, no matter what, doesn't matter what your motivation is or whatever. And like, you have to feel done with your off season before you can really hammer it out. Right. Mm-hmm. And so it's the same idea. Like it doesn't matter for an off season or a prep. Like you just have to be able to put all of your effort and be totally disciplined in this goal. If you're gonna take on something like a show or something like that, right? Like, or if you're gonna take on even anything like really steep, like you want to lose 30 pounds in 3 months or something wild, right?
Yeah.
Like it's doable, but you gotta
hustle.
Right? And like you said, like some days I wake up and like I told you right now, I'm waking up at 4 a.m. and like some days I'll still hit the snooze once or twice, right? Like it's that way, right?
Yeah.
It doesn't matter though. All the crap still gets done. I start my cardio every day by 4:30. Doesn't matter if I'm like running around the house shoving pills in my mouth and then like filling my shaker cup with water.
Yeah.
I get on there with just my underwear on or whatever. Like it still gets done no matter what.
Yep.
Some days I dread it, but it like you said, like maybe one out of every especially in an off season, like once a week I wake up and I'm like, let's get this day right from 4 a.m. Right?
Yeah.
It's a little bit different in prep. It's probably like a few days a week because you have this goal that's propelling you.
Yeah.
Right? But no matter what, all the work still gets done, and you can come up with any excuse, man. You can come up with any excuse to push these goals off. Like I was like, oh, it would be cool to like work out at home and all this stuff. In the back of my head, I'm like, maybe I just don't want to go in there and like, I don't want to do all this like crazy stuff. I can find a different way to do it, right? Mm-hmm. And like maybe that served a purpose for a couple weeks, but now that like I'm very lucky that I manage a gym, and now it can be my own private gym. Pretty much it's closed still, right? So now looking back on that, I'm like, maybe those 3 weeks where I was just kind of like giving myself an excuse, even though I was training hard, even though like I still had enough to progress on lifts at my house, but it's just like you can't let yourself just take the back seat, you know what I mean? Like on your own goals. So you just get up and you just work hard. That's just what it is.
Yeah. I think it's the part that I have like such a challenge with, and I had struggled with this when I was like personal training too, was like the level of importance to try to like achieve something, like you mentioned, like whether it was so and so who wants to lose 30 pounds in 3 months, or whether it's one of us that wants to win a show or whatever, like the level of importance I put that show on, whether it's a win or not, like it's at the top. There's nothing for that period of time that's any higher than that. So I'm going to do everything regardless, day, night, time, rain, snow, whatever. I'm going to get it done. And I don't know, from what I see, like people don't put their own personal shit at that level. You know what I mean? They put it down here, then they have room to come up with all these excuses and the lack of motivation thing. Like I don't give myself any playroom with that.
See, like, well, people that have listened to me before on the podcast, they know, like, I work 4 jobs. One of them is obviously managing gym and personal training, and I have online clients as well. But in my consultation form, I always ask that question. I always ask. It's been on there for 3 years now. How important are your goals to you? And if it comes back and it's like, and it's a 0 to 10, I say why. If it's 6, I don't take that client. And that can be selfish or whatever, but I simply don't have the time for it. Like I work 4 jobs, like, and I like to have my own time.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's dependent on the person and the goals, right? If they're really steep goals, it has to be a 9 or a 10. If it's someone that just wants to feel a little bit better, get a little bit stronger, or whatever, if it's a 6 or a 7, then I'll still consider it. But like for someone that wants to, like I said, drop 30 pounds in an X amount of time, or they want to increase their squat by this or whatever, you like, even in a prep for me, I'm the same way. Certain things maybe are tied at the top of the pyramid. Like there's a few things where it's like friends and family and this, and like, I mean, what I mean that is, I mean like their well-being. If they're struggling or anything like that, I can be there for them always.
Yeah.
Other than that, right, there's other things that just go out the window. Like, I mean, as soon as like a prep would start, like I don't care what food tastes like. Like I'm not going out with my friends to have dinner at Boston Pizza. I'm sorry, guys, but it just doesn't work that way. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You have to have this sort of hierarchy always, even if it's subconscious, and most people do. But for these steep goals and things like this, like sometimes too, you catch people on a bad day where they're not motivated, and then those goals don't matter that day. And they do so much damage that day or that 3 or 4 day span that when they are motivated, the next 2 weeks, you're
playing catch up.
They go nose diving down, right, in terms of progress. And the next 2 weeks or whatever, they're slowly creeping up and slowly creeping up and slowly creeping up. But it just doesn't do it justice. So now you've just.
I think that's a really good point, because I think people need to understand that you need to do a lot of baby steps consistently, but if you do like one wrong step like for a few days in a row, then you're down here. Like if I do like baby steps and I get to here, but then and that takes like 10 baby steps. But then someone does like 4 bad steps, they're way down here, right? And I think I don't know. It shouldn't even be a balancing act, because those 4 steps shouldn't happen, but they do.
So far, that's the one thing, and like people don't understand too. Like even like I mean, and I'm not gonna point out anyone personally, but like for the Coburgs that was coming up, we were talking about people would post stories and all this stuff.
Yep.
Blah, blah, blah. And you could tell the people that didn't have their diet in line, or they weren't training correctly, or anything like that, right? The analogy I always use with my clients is, I always tell them to just dig a hole, right? I always just tell them, just keep digging the hole. Just doesn't matter. Just keep digging that hole. Just work hard. It doesn't don't think about anything. Just keep digging that hole. And then it's just like, love of God, one day, don't jump in the hole, right? Because the farther that you're getting deeper into prep, say if you start when you're 20 weeks out and you're digging this massive hole and everything's going great, and 16 weeks out, now you've got a pretty big hole, right? Like it's like, it's probably like 8 feet deep and 8 feet wide.
Yeah.
Maybe you're 8 weeks out and now it's like 20 feet wide, 20 feet deep. And then all of a sudden one day you decide I'm not trying anymore, and you just jump in that hole. When you're 8 weeks out, that hole is so much bigger, because you have to have the mindset that no one else is doing anything that's going to be detrimental to their progress. You have to have that mindset. For me personally, like I do best whenever my back's against the wall. Like whenever the odds are stacked against me. that's when I'm going to do best. And so I always try to preach that mindset. I always try to preach that, like, always be proud of yourself. And like, sometimes it's hard, even probably for you and I, especially for me. I'll say it for me for sure. You don't really realize like how much your body is changing week to week, and you're not really like soaking in like how proud you should be throughout a prep as long as
Yeah.
everything's going well.
Yeah.
Especially first time competitors, like you have to be there for them. Like, but whenever you're 8 weeks out, you have to think like no one is going to screw up anymore. Like there isn't going to be an empty calorie consumed. They're not going to miss a meal. They're not going to cut any set a rep short or anything like that.
Yeah.
So if you go home and you're like,
Yeah.
I've been eating the same crap for 12 weeks now, I'm going to have a grilled cheese sandwich and tomato soup, and I'm going to polish it off with 8 Oreos or something like that. You just jumped in that giant hole of progress that you were making that whole 12 weeks.
Yep. Yeah, it's crazy how quickly things can go south in a hurry, right? And like this doesn't even just apply to like prep and bodybuilding and stuff, right? It's just
I would say it's lifestyle clients more so.
Yeah.
Right? Because usually, even if all the other things aren't intact, all these other pillars aren't intact, like nutrition and supplementation and training, we've talked about this a bunch. At least generally, the mindset for someone that starts prep generally is pretty strong and pretty disciplined.
Yep.
There's a lot of delusion in there sometimes. So a lot of times people will have this crappy diet or train like absolute foo-foos, and they'll think that like I'm training really hard, I'm dieting correctly, and just like I'm just putting like a tablespoon of brown sugar in all of my coffees and like whatever, it's not calorie-free sauce and blah blah blah. It's all good. Like a lot of these people are just like, it doesn't matter. But at least they have like this structured mindset where they're still attacking a goal, right?
Yeah.
Whereas with lifestyle clients, a lot of times it's like, I want the goal.
Kinda.
Hopefully it comes to me. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah. Just with like some of my clients that I've seen, similar things where something will come up and it's like it could be detrimental, but they make it like 10 times worse. Right? Have you ever seen that where it's like I have this, like say it's a birthday, it's an event, and not everybody can be like us and turn down work gatherings, family gatherings, and all that kind of stuff, and we have to be empathetic to that. But so client comes to you and is like, hey, family gathering Saturday night, like I'm really worried about food, blah blah. Well, can you order whatever you want? Yeah, like I can get, pretty much anything I want. Okay, like most restaurants, A, you can get water, and B, you can probably get grilled chicken and vegetables, or like steak and vegetables, like, which is perfect. Like that's probably better than what you would normally get anyways. But then check in the following weekend and it's like, so like, did you get through the event? Well, ... And I'm like, oh, here we go. And then I scroll through the message and it's fucking starts with like everybody was having drinks and like they just offered it to me and then I took a bunch. And then like, people were getting appetizers and I just wanted it. And it's like,
Yeah, no, exactly. Yeah.
I thought we had this figured out.
And you should have this figured out before you take on something like that. But you could use that whole, like, it's not about for me, I always try to make it not about the food for those sort of things, right? Because my family's kind of like, we're pretty tight knit, and like, for my first show ever, I prepped for my birthday. I didn't have any extra food or anything like that. I didn't have a slice of cake or anything like that.
Me too.
It was just about being with the people, right? So it was nice, and like they understood. And when I did nationals, there was 2 things in the summer that were huge gatherings. I had a family reunion on my dad's side. It's like 40 people, and like everyone's day drinking. Everyone like they had like this. I think a straight up pig that they roasted and all this stuff, right? Like everyone's making their own snacks, and there's like Rice Krispies with like marshmallows bursting out of them and crap like that. Like it wasn't about that for me. So like a few people offered me things, and I was just like, oh no, like I'm just here for time anyways, and I'm just visiting all these people I'm going to see. Like that's more of a treat to me anyways. Plus, you have to think about like the remorse that you'll feel whenever you no one thinks about that, right? Like no one's why aren't you thinking about how you're going to feel in 48 hours or in 3 hours for some people, right?
Yeah.
If you really pig out, you're going to feel bad about it in 3 hours.
Yeah.
Or something like that.
Instantly.
But like if you deviate from the plan a little bit and it holds you back, or because of this, like the net gain of weight over a week is like half a pound or like 7/10 of a pound or something like that, like you're going to like feel a little bit of remorse too. But think of like in 3 weeks and in 4 weeks how much that set you back if you do that twice in the span of a month or something like
Yeah.
some people like I've had clients that like December to April, you would think, and these are just lifestyle clients, you would think like, oh, they're getting ready for like a figure show or something like that. Like this is just they're not missing anything.
Yeah.
And then May comes till August, and it's like, where did that person go? Like you got a stunt double in here. What are you trying to do, right? Like it's not like the end of the like food is always going to be there. So if you can just get that in your head, like food and drink, if someone's like they like whatever it is, if they like beer or if they like soda or juice or whatever, like it's not going away. So just just hunker down for a bit if your goals are important to you.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think that's the big one, right? It's a level of importance.
Yeah,
I just think people
like motivation is just a level of importance.
Yeah.
Right? Like there's not like it just makes me angry whenever people use that as an excuse,
Yeah, like just the whole term like I'm not motivated. Like I don't even know if I know what that means.
Yeah.
I don't know if I know what actually motivation means. Like is that a feeling? Is that an emotion? Is that like a personality trait? Like people say like, "Oh, Leroy, you're so motivated." I'm like, "But what does that explain to that? What does that mean? And why can't you be?"
Yeah, both of us kind of like we've talked before on a podcast about like how there's something comes up and there's just like a switch that it's like a light switch. Like if I turn this light switch on and off.
Yeah.
If we started to prep or whatever it is, that switch gets flipped and a lot of BS doesn't matter anymore.
Yep.
Like for me, it's like playing like one of the biggest things is like playing video games with my friends at the end of the night. Like, okay, well, I'm not going to do that until like 10 p.m. or 11 p.m. anymore. Whenever all my work's done, like it just doesn't matter because I need to get sleep because if I'm waking up early or like training's harder and calories are reduced and I'm recovering a little bit slower. Like, unfortunately, like we can't try and win a war zone or anything like that. So, or not every night,
Yeah.
And like that's one of the easiest things that goes out the window, right? And like for me, I love diet soda. Like as unhealthy as it is, like I love that feeling. Well, guess whenever that prep comes around, I just don't care about diet soda anymore. I actually just don't care about it.
Yeah.
So it's just put these things into like perspective, right? And like last time we had a podcast, I was hoping that like everyone could kind of get like declutter all the things that shouldn't have priority in their head, but like that just automatically comes whenever you take on a goal anyway. So yeah, like I don't know, like I can't remember like the last time I leaned on motivation, honestly. Like even when I played sports when I was younger, I never, you know what I mean? Like it wasn't like you just tried your best because it was your work ethic and because you were disciplined.
Yeah, like and that's the big difference maker, right? As like I think motivation, I don't even know if this is the word people need to use. I think it is like a discipline and a dedication, right? Like motivation's got this, I don't know, like aura around it, right? But I think
it's like the Instagram thoughts. It's like that. It's like girls that wear really tight pants and they take pictures of their bums at like really interesting angles. You know what I mean? And so everyone's like ooh and ah for that. And so like you see a lot of like posts about motivation and all this stuff. Like you see like I think it's just like a word, man. I think
it's a buzzword.
Those like hot words. You know? Like I don't know what it is, but like a lot of people just like they see it and then because people, and it's kind of see-through. Like a lot of Instagram is like you can kind of see the people like we're talking about, like people that were prepping that were like, they would put these pictures and all this stuff and just like I've been killing my workouts and I'm ready for anything that comes and there's no turning back and all this stuff and no stone unturned. Well, of course you're leaving stones unturned because you look like you're 12 weeks out when you're 5 weeks out or whatever, right? Like,
yeah.
and all this stuff. So yeah, like people just kind of like they want to be part of that motivation crew, except when the getting gets tough, and then they want to go, not motivated.
Well, darn.
But it's just an imaginary thing.
Yeah.
There's no physical trait to motivation.
And I think that's where my biggest hurdle comes, is because when people are like, "Oh, you're motivated or whatever," it's like, I don't have anything that you don't. I don't have access to like this genie in a lamp, or I don't have like all this extra money so I can afford the best gym and the best food and all this kind of stuff. Like, I don't have anything else that really no one else does. You know what I mean? So I think that's where I like have a hard time too, is like, you can also basically do everything I'm doing. I am not doing anything different. I really am not.
Yeah. Well, even like I put like a Grandmaster's figure girl on stage last year, and we did a 19-week prep. And the first 10 or so weeks, there was a few things that came up because we were prepping for the Barry show. And like she has daughters, obviously, and grandchildren. And so we started prepping a pretty good spot. She might have used that mentally to her own advantage, right? And there was two sort of like 1 day or 2 day trips where she was away. And she's like, I'm going to pack my meals and stuff like that. But she's like, I don't know how many meals I can pack and all this. And she's like, I'm meeting the grandchild for the first time and all this. And she's like, I'm going to have probably a slice of cake or a cookie. And I was like, we're ahead, so it's okay. I said, we'll use this like as like a refeed, like this whole, like maybe, like what we were doing was skip loading. So it was like, really we want carb laden foods anyways for X amount of hours. Well, went a little bit overboard both times. Luckily, because we started prep ahead, it wasn't so detrimental, right?
Yeah.
But whenever we got to like 7 weeks in, we had this talk after we were weighing in one time, and I just said, like, listen, it's crunch time. There's no more deviations. Like, we can't just decide this Saturday we're going to have, wake up and have a bunch of crap, or you can't go to bed and have a snack before that or anything like that. Like, we're 7 weeks out now. We started prepping a great spot. We were ahead of track, and now we're about right on track. And so that trend doesn't look so promising unless we really buy into it. And so it was the first time for her anyways, because I respect her a lot, that I kind of said, listen, I don't care about how motivated you are. I don't care about all this other crap. I don't care what you're dealing with. Like, it's a lot to take on to do a prep. So we either do the show or we don't, but you just got to buy into it. Like, you just have to be disciplined and committed for this amount of time and not deviate from plan. And I promise you're going to do best. Like, at this point, she was 7 weeks out, and she pretty much looked the best she ever had before she competed a few times before. But like the plan is always to win, right? It's not to like have fun during the prep. Like, that is such a secondary. Like, a lot of people will like, they come to me like first time competitors in my area anyways, and they'll be like, like, I didn't think prep was supposed to be so archaic and so like, it's not supposed to be like that anymore or anything like that. Like, I thought there's new ways of doing it. I was like, well, even if like your coach was like making you eat like chicken and potatoes and chicken and rice and never got refeeds or whatever, this is all your choice that you're doing for this prep. Like, you decided you wanted to do a bodybuilding prep. You didn't want to take it on yourself because maybe you weren't confident enough, or maybe you didn't have the nutrition part of it down, or whatever it is. But now you've bestowed all this trust into him or her, right? You have to decide, am I doing this show? And if I am, you better damn well be disciplined, because people like you and I and all these other bodybuilders that have the mindset down to do whatever it takes are going to, be their best. Or is it not that important to you, or you're not feeling motivated? And are you going to cheat the rest of the way? And should you do the show at all? So luckily she bought into it. She got 2 first place and a second. It was great, but it was probably a make or break point at 7 weeks out, right? Where the coach really had to step in, even to this person that competed multiple times before. And it wasn't once or twice, it was a few times before, several. And you have to really lock in mentally for this sort of thing. Totally disregard how motivated you are.
Yeah, you've got to be laser focused. Simple as that. And I think that's not anything special. Like anybody can do that. You know what I mean? Like anybody can just like it's a decision. Just decide that it's extremely important to you and do what you got to do.
People ask me a bunch of times, like before I ever competed for like years, and like before I had any physique to speak of, they're like, "Are you going to compete soon? You seem so focused in the gym and all this stuff." And like I was like just getting my diet and stuff, like nutrition, all that stuff, squared around where I would start making some real progress. And I was just like, why would I compete? Like, I was just like, why don't you compete? Neither of us have anything going on with our physiques right now, and the only difference is that I'm just putting more effort into it, more disciplined effort, right? So it doesn't. It's not a gene that you and I have.
No, I don't think so. Anyways,
like that, well, he definitely has genes, but for anyone that gets on stage and can be that laser focused for that X amount of time, it's just something that you can actually teach yourself. Like it's just something that you can just do by putting one foot forward in front of the other, right? Like there's no special class we took in high school or college that let us do this. There's no like sort of like one YouTube video I watched. There wasn't like an expensive book that was at the back of my local library that I tracked down or anything like that. Like I didn't have a cool lever that's like a secret. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
None of that happened. So yeah, you just like they always say like confidence is you fake it till you make it. Well, I kind of believe that's kind of junk. I kind of believe it's like you do things that you believe that you once couldn't, and now you can, and so now that gives you more confidence to do all these other things, right?
Yeah.
It's kind of like in between for those two ideas of confidence for what motivation or discipline or whatever is, right? So yeah, of course you have to fake it. Like you have to just kind of say, I'm going to do this and I'm going to be this much better, or I'm going to be this much stronger, I'm going to lose this much weight before you really have a grasp on everything at a really high level. But you do have to accomplish some certain things so that you believe you can do that.
Yeah.
Right. So before I got on stage, we wanted probably more muscle. We wanted to probably be a little bit leaner. We probably wanted to, six pack or whatever it was, And so we took that upon ourselves, and there was definitely trial and error, and there was definitely stupid things that we did. Like I remember, I was thinking the other day of like, how dumb it was when I was doing like low cable curls at like every workout that were one set to 100 reps, and I was just like, but that 100 rep set, it didn't probably grow any muscle, but it burned like a MFer. So it taught me that, it taught me a little bit of like pain tolerance, right? So now like I can go into sets and kind of call on that whenever I'm doing, high rep sets of hack squats that burn like crap, my quads, or if I'm doing high rep deadlifts or stiff leg dead or whatever it is, right? So I can kind of call on that thing. So you do have to kind of take initiative yourself to start knocking these small things down.
Yeah.
That'll give you the confidence to put at least more eggs in a basket so that you can be a little bit more disciplined and see out end results.
I think that was kind of a good point, just kind of rung in my head. Like, it's a process, right? I think that's something that people ignore. Like, I think people just assume that once I commit to a show, all these... Oh, I lost you.
No, we're good.
Like, if you commit to a show, all your bad habits just disappear, and all of a sudden you're going to be perfect, and you're going to be on your train, on your diet, and all this stuff. And, like, echoing a similar story to mine, which you probably lived, is like you got into the gym when you were younger and you just started doing some stuff. You started going to the gym. So you went to the gym twice a week. Then you were like, oh, this is kind of cool. And you went 3 times. Then you went 4 times. And then you never missed it because you loved it. And then you're like, oh, I should probably eat a little bit better. So then you start eating. Oh, I'm going to eat a few more times a day. I'm going to try to have protein with every meal. But this is like, man, like I've been training like 10 years. You know what I mean? Yeah. So when people see the level of like seriousness and dedication and like adherence to the plan, like it didn't just happen that way. Like definitely by the time I committed to a show, like I had a lot of good things already figured out beforehand, but that didn't just happen. And now I think people just, like I said, just assume that, okay, I'll compete and that'll fix me. That'll fix my bad habits. That'll fix my poor nutrition. That'll fix me not wanting to go to the gym, not being motivated to go to the gym. But you need to have all that ironed out way beforehand.
A lot of people think that if they set a high enough goal, that they will just automatically, like it'll just gravitate towards them. It'll help them out just by saying these words or whatever. Right? These magic words, like I'm going to do a show, or I'm going to lose 30 pounds or something like that, whatever it might be. It absolutely doesn't work like that. So the only thing that changes whenever you decide you're going to take on something of that magnitude is the pressure on you. Are you a person that cracks under pressure? A lot of people are. Most people are, I would say.
Yeah.
Overwhelming majority of people are. And I would also argue that the overwhelming majority of good bodybuilders that people kind of like look up to are the polar opposite of that thrive under pressure.
Yeah.
Like they come up in the clutch. In all these moments where their back's against the wall, that's when they shine. And all these other cliches that I failed to mention. So yeah, it is like the whole idea of the thing. The whole idea of setting a high goal is admirable, but it's how many like even for you, like to me, like people that set these high, at least really high goals, the tough goals, the people that fail them almost immediately outweigh people that even make it to the end at least 2 to 1. And that's, it's hard to, even if it's not like a client of mine, just like people that like I'm talking to or whatever, they want to try this or they want to do this and all this stuff. Like there's one of my, like a person that has used my gym before and uses another gym locally, and we're friends. I don't know how many times he's told me he's going to do a show and he's ready to start prep, or like this is his first real off season or whatever, and then something happens. It doesn't matter what it is, but I get an excuse all the time. He's got a wife, or the kid needs more attention right now, and like those are very real and important things. But sometimes it's like, oh, now I'm working more. Like I got an extra 8 hours at work and I have to work overtime, and you just make it happen, man. Like I just don't want to hear it anymore. So if you know who this is, he's a good friend of mine. I don't want to hear it no more. You know what I mean? Tell someone else. But it can, like, you can't just set a hard goal and then it just come and work.
Yep. Yeah,
it just doesn't come to fruition by saying the words. Yeah.
Beautiful. I think that's a good way to end this, my man.
Yeah, sure.
Do the work, people.
Yeah, always.
Always just do what you need to do and it'll happen. No excuses.
Man, the days that I'm kind of feeling like, like the next day, that's when I feel the best. Whenever I still have done the work. So I was like, I didn't really feel like, man, maybe I didn't really want to do that drop set, or maybe I didn't want to do this rest pause set or whatever. Like, it would have been nice to just do this, one thing with my diet. Like, I could just switch this out for the same amount of carbohydrates that would just taste good. You know what I mean? Like, it would just be like, I just want to eat gummy worms or something like that. Like, the days after that, when I put in all the work, then you see the rewards. And then if you put in 5 or 6 days like that over the span of a month and you don't deviate, that's when you're going to feel the best about it.
Yep. 100%. 100%. All right, people. Hope you enjoyed the episode. Another chat with Branden and I. Busting your balls about not being motivated. So go get it done.
Yeah.
All right, man. Appreciate you coming on.
All righty.
Thanks, everybody, for watching. Be sure to like and subscribe. And we'll see you guys in the next one.